Are Orange bikes going to be okay? At the time of filming this, mid-February, they just had a buyout about 2 weeks ago, which looks like they're going to be okay, but I'm not so sure. I've been looking into this a little bit, I've been looking at the good and the bad, and I'm not sure they're quite out the woods yet. What I really want to know though, before I start, is what you guys think. What do you think the reasons are that Orange got into trouble? Is it just a knock-on effect of the current economy with the bike industry as a whole failing, or is there more to it? I'm here at Wharncliff Woods today, where I'm going to have a bit of a ride. We're going to check out Wharncliff Woods and we're going to talk about Orange bikes, which is quite apt actually, because this is the home of probably their most famous son, Steve Peat, who once rode for Orange, taking them to some massive glory way back when, back in the day. This is Steve Peat's, probably arguably the greatest of all time's local playground. So I'm at Wharncliff Woods, we're going to chat Orange bikes. Let's get into it. So I've only been to Wharncliff a couple of times, Wharncliff side. I've been on Greno side a few times as well, but I'm going to check out some of these trails. Going to quick look down here. Little trail I've spotted. There's stuff dotted around all over the place in this woods, so it's quite wet and muddy today. We've had all the rain this week, so I thought I'd check out this. Trying to get through this tree. There we go. It is way boggy and slippy. Just trying to keep it steady. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, held on somehow. That is sketch. So for those of you who don't know, Orange Bikes is probably the biggest bike company in the UK. They came to fame in the late 80s, about 88, 89. Everybody, they had a bike out in the late 80s, early 90s called the Orange Clockwork, or the Clockwork Orange, obviously sort of piggybacking on the Stanley Kubrick movie. And they've always been really good, really solid bikes. And this isn't, I don't want this video to be about shitting on Orange. I do think Orange are a really, really good bike company and they make really, really good bikes. But I do also think they've got some possible inherent problems, or at least in problems of their image. Now, back in December 22nd, I think it was, they filed for administration. Now, I learned a few things. It turns out that Orange Bikes was also in partnership with another company. I think they were called Barstow Steel or something like that. And they were the people that actually made their frames. And then basically there's been a deal done a couple of weeks ago where the director, I think, from Barstow Steel, he's bought the company out from the administrators, and a few other things. But there's a few other things with Orange Bikes that kind of might be a bit more of a problem, and I don't think they're out the woods yet. In fact, I think the writing still might be on the wall. But there's a few things that has happened, things like Leisure Lakes, one of the biggest bike shops in the UK now. They're famous for stocking like every brand. They decided last year not to sell Orange bikes anymore, which was an interesting decision. Now, I did a bit of research on this, couldn't really find any reason why, but it's interesting that a shop has made the decision not to sell bikes. Now, I've spoken to local bike shops and stuff that have tried to sell Orange, and you'd think there would be a real big seller, but it turns out they've not. They've had them in stock, they've had them for a year or so, and they didn't sell as well as they expected. So that's really interesting. So I want to discuss that more. First though, like I say, I'm at Wharncliff Woods. This is a cool little track here, so we're going to go check this track out. It's quite gnarly. I've done this one before, but never in conditions like this. So let's go check this out and we'll continue this conversation in a bit. All right then. God, my arse is twitching just thinking about it. Whoa, whoa, that is slippy. Straight into that. Woo! Don't want to bed it. So as I was saying, it was the director, Ashley Ball. I've just looked him up on my phone and made some notes. He was, I think, he's the director, he's bought it out, and he's basically consolidated the two businesses, the Barstow Sheet Metal Company and Orange Bikes, and they're the people that make the frames. But what I thought was really interesting and quite telling, like I say, a big bike shop like Leisure Lake's dropping a bike company. They've decided not to stock them in 2023 apparently, and I find that really interesting. I'm trying to wonder why that is. Like I say, I know a few independent bike shops who have stocked Orange over the years, and they thought it was going to be like a dead cert. They thought it was like an instant winner, you know, British brand, made in Britain, Halifax up in Yorkshire. You know, stock them. They were really well thought of. People who've got them rave about them, but they didn't sell any. They struggled to sell any. Orange blew up massive in the noughties. They were a huge company, but now is it the case that they're more of like a niche company, something like Starling Bikes and things like that, where they're more niche, they're more for their followers, the people that want them absolutely love them, but to everyone else there's a lot of problems with them. And I wonder if that is the case, and what we're seeing is a massive global company that had bikes all around the world is turning more back into a niche company, and as that downscales and resizes, it's coming with these problems, and that's then been exacerbated by the current economic climate in the bike industry in particular. I also think there's a little bit more to it than that, and that's to do with the bike designs and stuff. But let's get to the top of this climb and do another run, and we'll talk more. Let's get going. Right. Woo! That is sweet. Whoa! Oh, I'm out of the rut. Back in the rut. Out of the rut again. These ruts. So going back to what I was saying about Orange bikes, as an engineer myself, and somebody who can appreciate design and engineering, their welds and the way their frames are made are nothing short of exquisite, absolutely beautiful. But some things they've never done. They've never experimented with anything other than a single pivot. Not to say that's a bad thing, the single pivot works fine and it definitely has its advantages. And also they've never really experimented with carbon. I think they've, from what I can read and what I can remember, they've only ever made one carbon frame, that was a road bike. So I don't think they've ever even played with like a single pivot with like a DW link or like a little link just to steady it, you know, that sort of thing. And that's a little bit of an issue, because I'm not saying that they should do, or that makes them backwards in their thinking or anything like that, but I think what it does, it gives an impression that they're not innovative. They're not into innovation, not into pushing the envelope. But my point I'm making is because they've never innovated, because they've never decided to do things with pivot design, for example, and I think pivot design is important, they've got a reputation for not being the ones that are pushing the envelope and not being the ones that are being like at the forefront of frame design. Frame design, bike companies, it's getting more intelligent and it's getting more sophisticated. With it, us as the customer, we're getting more intelligent and more sophisticated. We understand frame design more. We watch videos and content and we read articles and we are becoming more knowledgeable. We understand the benefit of that high pivot design like the Forbidden Druid has, and why that is important for suspension design to do with the chain line and how the chain affects it. And so the point I'm trying to make is us as consumers, we are becoming more aware of frame design and things like that, and we look at Orange, and are we looking at Orange and saying they're cutting edge, they're leading the way, they're market leaders? And I don't think we are we? And I think that's a problem. And then also the fact that they've not sort of experimented with carbon is interesting. Obviously they're a metalworking company, you know, they've got their history in metalwork and in sheet metal work, but not experimenting with carbon, not even coming out with carbon models or carbon versions. I'm not sure if that's a mistake. Also, they've got a massive range. They've got like, I don't know how many different types of bikes in their range, and they all look very similar, don't they? And that could be a bit of an issue. Anyway, these trails are sick. I'm gonna go up here now because there's like a bit of a jump trail, some lads are playing on it, so I'm gonna go check that out. So let's go do that and we'll continue this chat in a minute. Sloppy to start with, but we'll go round that massive hole and it's in this way. Whoa, starts off with, oh yeah, I'm not going fast enough, I need to go faster. Yes. Oh, almost launched off that, I didn't mean to. This way. Is it this way? Oh, that's fun, but I have no idea where I'm going. There's a lot of cool features over this section. There's drops, there's rock drops, little rock jumps, little rock gaps, drop-offs, everything. And it's all really cool, it's all really rideable, but it's scattered. And I think in the summer, when it's a little bit more worn in and it's not so sloppy, where you can't see just sloppy trails everywhere, you can't see where you're going, you probably pick up the route you want to go down and you just play on it. Just found another really cool looking trail, a little bit sloppy at the top, but it dries out as it goes down, so I'm going to hit that one now. Let's do this, let's go. Okay, see, top section might be a little bit sloppy right off the bat. But this is really lovely in the summer. I'm going to try and stay up the puddles for now, just to keep the lens free. And then the rut. Yeah, baby. Roost. So yeah, I'm riding around here and I'm just sort of thinking, and I'm struggling to remember a time ever when Orange were market leader in terms of innovation, when they did something first, when they were the first to market with a new design or a new concept. I don't think it's ever happened. If I'm wrong, let me know, please let me know, but I can't think of it. I mean, the only thing I can really think about is the 222, the downhill bike. I had one, and that was kind of like the first big travel bike that was pedalable, was it really? Everything was like 6 inches, and then I kind of jumped up to 8 inches, and I don't know if that even counts. I don't want this to sound like I'm just dissing Orange and saying they're crap, but they're not. They make really, really good bikes. But I think if you don't innovate, you get left behind. If you're not in this game, in racing, in bikes, in performance, if you're not moving forwards, if you're standing still even, you're going backwards. Anyway, I'm back at the top now, and I'm going to drop in one of the black runs. I think this one is called Peaty, named after the man himself, which I suspect could mean it's super gnarly. So I'm going to proceed with caution and see how we get on. Let's try it. Whoa. Head up, McCoy. Whoa, feet down. This is rooty. Whoa, it's a quagmire. Not really sure. Is this going to be rideable? Maybe give this one a miss. It's a bit slippy, it's a bit boggy. Screw it, gonna give it a go. Yes! Oh. Let's get Oh, super boggy. This is nice. Rocky though. I'm buzzing. That was super slippy, super gnarly in places, riding it completely blind. Had no idea where I was going, what line choices to make. It was getting super steep at places. I think I was overthinking it. I think because I looked on Trail Thoughts and it's literally called PT, I thought, oh, this is going to be something silly gnarly. And it wasn't too bad actually. That was ace. I'm knackered though, I'm not going to do it again. I'd love to have a play on that. That's going to be wicked. I'm definitely going to come back when it's a bit drier and play on that, I think, for sure. I can't stop thinking about Leisure Lakes though. Why would a big company like that choose not to stock a bike brand? A company like that literally will stock every brand. They will get every bike that customers want. What's the reason that they didn't want to stock those bikes? Maybe there's another reason. So I suppose the question that I'm really been asking in this video is the problems that Orange bikes have been suffering part of the pandemic and the whole economy being low for the whole of the bike industry, or was the writing already on the wall before and that was just the thing that tipped them over the edge? Who knows?